Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. I am Sharon Pinder, President and CEO of the Capital Region Minority Supply Development Council and operator of the U.S. Department of Commerce Minority Business Development Agency in Virginia, the first of its kind in the Commonwealth. As an organization, the Capital Region Minority Supply Development Council is one of 23 regional affiliates of the National Minority Supply Development Council, and our mission 50 years in the making is that, and it remains the same, and that is to certify, connect, develop, and advocate for minority businesses. As we enter into this new season for us, we are incredibly excited to continue to bring you informative podcasts with some of our most respected and well-known leaders across the region. We ask that you visit our website at www.crmsdc.org to stay up to date on our upcoming events, because we have a lot coming up in 2023, and I'll tell you a little bit about that later. So hang in there with us. Today, this episode, I have great pleasure in speaking with an Emmy award-winning anchor who has 20 years in journalism and television, and that is Ms. Allison Seymour of GetUp DC. But before I get started with our guest today, let us take some time to recognize those folks who keep the lights on and pay the bills. And so thank you to our title sponsor, which is Exelon, BGE, an Exelon company, Pepco, an Exelon company, to Capital One, to AMCUS, to SB and Company, and of course to our MBDA Center. Let me tell you a little bit about Allison Seymour in case you don't know. As I said, she's Emmy Award winner, anchor, and she's been waking up some folks, thousands, millions of folks on morning news in her town of Washington, D.C. since 1999. When you see her, she looks like a youngster, but beautiful woman. But she's been doing it since 1999. She started her television career at the D.C. Bureau of ABC News behind the scenes, earning her Master of Mass Communications from the University of South Carolina. I happen to know she went to Hampton undergrad. She's a proud graduate of Hampton, where she is enshrined in the Media Hall of Fame. Allison's on-air career began during the blizzard of 1993 in upstate New York. What a place to be during a blizzard. She would go on to work at Utica, Birmingham, and Albany, New York. During the summer of 1998, she took an anchor position in St. Louis, Missouri, where on her first day of job, she met one of my favorite people, her husband, radio host Mark Clark. Please help me welcome the one and only, your beloved GetUp DC, Allison Seymour. Hello,
Oh,
Allison.
President Pinder, thank you so much. I was listening and I'm like, wow, okay.
Oh,
But my greatest joy is what you ended on, my wonderful husband and our kids. So
yes,
if we
yes.
stopped right there, it would be good. But I'm so happy to join you.
Oh, great. And what a legacy that the two of you all have in terms of your three girls. And the fact that you're both in the same career
Right.
network, and how you've had to um, put that superwoman suit on and juggle all of that. And when I first met Mark, he was in Baltimore with his morning show. And so you are in Baltimore, Washington, living in between, raising three kids. Now they're all in college or coming out of college. We're starting with almost the end of mine, but we want to talk a little bit about your background. But thank
And let me
you.
just say, though, President Pender, it would not have been possible those early years without a real superwoman, my wonderful mother. May she rest in
Mm,
peace. So it was
mm,
because of my mother and my father that I feel like I was even able to have this career because they were their sole caregivers. So when you talk about Big Mama, I
oh,
understand exactly what that means. So
isn't that
all credit just to them.
wonderful?
Yes.
What a blessing.
Mm.
And to be able to for your kids to have their grandparents.
Oh,
So,
it was so wonderful.
oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had to give up that respect before we went any further.
Yeah, and please call me Sharon.
Oh, Madam President Sharon. Okay, that'll
I know.
work.
And so when you look at what about you I mean, did somebody throw a mic in your hand or something at
No.
6 years old? What made you decide? There's a couple things I really want to get out of our conversation,
Mhm.
and that is, what was that aha moment that you realized that that's what you were doing is what you wanted to do? Then when did you realize that you were positioned for the greatness that you've achieved in that position?
Well,
Right.
that's very kind. Thank you. But you said something about 6 years old, and I'm Sharon. I'm really going to go back to 6 years old because I can distinctly remember sitting. I used to go and spend all my summers with my grandparents in Charleston, South
Mhm.
Carolina, and I was sitting there watching their TV, the big old ones that used to be in the cases that took up half the family room, and
Right.
I thought it was a commercial. It turned out now I know it was a promo, a promotional spot for the news team, and I saw these people. They were in the community, and whenever, of course now I understand it was shot like this, but they were in the community and people were waving, and at the end they had this jingle and it said something about, we'll see you on channel 2. And I thought, whatever they're doing,
Mhm.
whatever that thing is, believe it or not, I connected with it as a young child. And then as when I got into high school, again, my mother said, I think you would make a really good news reporter. And I kind of had put
Mm.
it on the back burner, seeing that commercial, really connecting with it. And but when she said that, I only had one mission when I went into Hampton, and that was to study journalism. And after that, I don't know where it came from, but I felt a calling to be able to be in a position where I could give information, where I was a member, really ensconced in the community. That's what I knew from that. What I thought was a commercial, I knew those people were looked at as community members, and they were having fun. They were smiling, but I knew what they were doing was a serious job too. So by the time I got to Hampton as an 18-year-old, I didn't really have a plan B. I was going to be a news reporter. That's just it. And
Mhm.
later I would try to work it out. I spent 5 years behind the scenes, couldn't get an on air job, just didn't know how to navigate it. But when they say that little passion piece or that dream is within you, that is truly how it was for me. It was something about television news that I just felt connected to. And it took some years for me to get there. And as you mentioned, going to small towns in upstate New York back in the early 90s, this December, I will have been on TV every day for 30 years. So it took a while to get started. But once I got started, I, I just, my focus was to get back here to my hometown of Washington, D.C. And as you mentioned, I've just been very blessed to be here now for 23 years. 23
Mhm.
years. So it's just,
Wow.
I don't know. It was a little seed that was planted as I was sitting watching TV as a elementary school person, first grade or so. And then high school, that little nudge from my mom, she saw
Mhm.
something and and it connected. And that was it.
Mm. So, and that's so interesting. So you grew up in DC. So what were the images as a little girl? Did you see people looking like you on the news? Because and so we're kind of spoiled in this market
Yes.
because we can look at television and see ourselves. We can look at the anchors and see ourselves. And I'm always impressed with the seem like the barrage of young folks I'm seeing now coming
Yes.
on air. And so in the DC market, it was those anchors that, literally they were anchors, but the anchors in terms of the folks that represent us, we're always there. We can go back and name the ones,
Oh yeah.
over the years.
JC Hayward was the first black woman. I believe JC might have been the first black woman anchor in local news, period. But I know she was in DC for
Right,
sure. I have to check that statistic. And then the Maureen Bunions, the Susan
right.
Kids, not to mention on a national level, there was Carol Simpson,
Simpson. Yep,
Renee
yep,
Poussin. Remember? I mean,
yep,
so
yep.
I was very spoiled by that. Jim Vance,
Yes.
these people that I saw as
And
a
we
high
take for
school person.
granted. Right. We
Oh,
take that for granted until
we
you go into
sure
other
do.
markets. Wherever I go somewhere, I look at television, I'm always just it's always interesting to me to see what the anchors look like.
Right, and it
Uh,
should be a reflection of that community, but as we know, even today, there are teams that do not have any African Americans on that team. I guess you look at nightly news, and the
mhm,
whole team, there's no reflection. So I was very spoiled here in DC. When I saw that promo down in Charleston, I didn't see anybody who looked like me. There was something that said, "I think I can do that." I don't know where that came from, but
mhm,
certainly as a high school person, those faces were there, and I saw, and even though I didn't know Sharon how to really navigate it and get into the
mhm,
business because I didn't have any connections, I still could, I saw it, and it's something about seeing it that
mhm.
lets you really believe you could do it.
And I think that's what's key. When you can see it, you can believe it.
That's
And
it.
then and how many people you have inspired over the years. I mean, just I think that's incredible as well. Any of your daughters want to follow in your footsteps?
You know how these kids are. Nobody, and I believe that all 3 of them, if they wanted to take a stab at it, would surely be successful in
Mhm.
it. They, between Mark and myself, they can't help but be able to communicate something.
Right,
So, between the 2 of us, we've been around
right.
for like 60 years in the media. So, but no, alas, we have
Mhm.
no heir apparents in this house.
Okay, that's okay too, because everybody gets to do who they get to do themselves.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah, kind of thing. So that's awesome too. And so it was the notion and the belief, but it was also the skill.
Mhm.
Because I look at you and I hear you and I hate to do this. I hate to say, you're so articulate. I hate when people do that.
I know, but we know what it is. We
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Right. Right.
And so part of that gift is the package. And how did you refine the
Mhm.
package over the
By
years?
watching, when I tell you that I must have sat down and like studied. For me, it's Maureen Bunyan, and I know she hears this story all the time, and she's probably like, "If you do not stop talking about me," but for her, even when I first came on the scene, I modeled my hair after her with the really sharp, short haircut
And the
and the
clothes.
poise with which she
Yeah,
delivered the news.
yeah.
I've sort of mixed it up to make it my style. I like to, because I'm morning news, I like to be able to laugh a little bit, spread a little positivity. That's sort of my brand. But I was able, to take that from people that I saw, and I studied them because I didn't necessarily know how to do it. I'm gonna tell you, those first tapes in Utica, New York, when you mentioned
Mhm.
those tapes are rough, but I was looking like the part. I was
Uh-huh.
I was stumbling over every other word, but I was
Uh,
sitting there in my little blazer. So I studied it. I
mhm,
studied what it was. I knew that you really don't have an accent of any kind. You're sort of you're delivering the news in a way that someone from Tennessee to Alaska can hear it, can know that I'm giving you a clear message. So those are the things I tried to do.
mhm.
And it's just between Hampton and the University of South Carolina, putting a cork between my teeth and learning how to, say
Mm,
all the syllables and to speak clearly and enunciate and all that. So I definitely will say that I took that very seriously because I wanted to be taken
mm,
seriously. I think now I love to see some of the expression now with our younger journalists, and wearing all different hairstyles and being more natural and all of that. I'm so encouraged by that because I think we all fit into a mold when I
mhm.
was coming up, and I love to see the expression now. It's all professional. It has nothing to do with professionalism. It's just expression, and I love how these younger journalists, the women I'm speaking of, are able to express themselves. It's encouraging to me. It's heartening to me.
I think you're absolutely right, and even in the you take that in the business world in your particular industry, that's true. But I think it's true across the board. I just remember as a young woman, it being conscious of my hair, how
Yes,
my hair was styled, how what you wore,
yes.
that kind of thing. But you're right; it is refreshing that people are accepted as who they are,
Hmm.
and we may as older folks say, I'm not sure I would do it that way, but the
Right.
fact that they don't care and
That
that they're
part.
doing that.
That part, Sharon. Because I agree with
I gotta
all of
love
that.
it.
Yes.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
and I look back at the Carol Simpsons, in terms
Mhm,
of the national news, and
mhm.
now I'm a Lester Holt person. But in terms of the evening news, do we have any role models there?
We are still, I think we're still sorely lacking in that department as far as the traditional networks, right? So
Mhm.
the ABC, CBSs, and what have you. Every now and then I see faces of color, but not the, you don't really know the names right off the bat. There's
Right.
Gail King in the morning, of course, there's
Morning.
Robin Roberts. I'm talking about that solo anchor in most cases on the
And
evening news.
and
You
is
don't
that
really,
the prime spot if you're the
that's the prime
solo,
spot.
in the yeah,
That's
okay.
the prime spot. CBS, I know, has Nora O'Donnell, a wonderful woman. It happens to not be a woman of color. All ABC and NBC and all the more. It still seems to be very male dominated when it comes to putting one person up there on the evening news. It
That's the
still
power
seems
spot.
to be
The
that,
power
right?
spot, yeah.
But the power
But
seat,
here's
exactly.
the other observation. I noticed this in the Baltimore market, as well. It just seems, and I look whenever I go and I look at the news, it still seems to be somewhat of, and it may be just my observation, somewhat of a void for African American women. I don't
Right.
see. You will see African American males. You see
Mhm.
them paired on an anchor with maybe a white woman,
Right.
but you have to search to look for African American women in
Mhm.
that seat.
And
Um,
so right. So make no mistake, and you'll see often you'll be like, oh, okay, this is a really diverse news station and what have you. But I can speak from experience when I say that other roles that are missing are those management positions. You can
mm,
have like an anchor desk full of people of color. Who's in those offices making those decisions? And that part we've really got a long way to go as far as that goes.
mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Over the years, um, and one of the things I wanted to talk about is, any thoughts that you may have or advice in terms of how our minority businesses can leverage media, right?
Yes.
And we're so heads down and just trying to work in that business, on that business kind of thing, but sometimes we don't sit up to take advantage of what media can bring to your
Yeah.
business. You have any thoughts around that?
I do. What I will say as far as if you have a say you have a small business and you have an event coming up, or there is a news sort of like a news peg attached to something, right? Like every month there is a different month. Whatever it is, National Firefighters Month, just say that, right? So
Hmm.
if you have a restaurant, say, okay, are you having any specials for firefighter related specials, what have you? News stations like, and I'll speak just for television news, we like it when there's a little hook, something that we can attach it to, right? So I would get that elevator pitch, know exactly what you're doing. We're doing these spicy of a spicy food menu for firefighters month or what have you, and send them out, make those connections with television and radio. That's kind of that's my lane, right? So send those
Hmm.
press releases out and just keep doing it. Even if you don't get a bite at first, do it again, because you're going to go on these is really free advertising, right? And people are going to, you make if you as if it's a restaurant, you're going to bring the food, make it look so delicious that you're going to get all these customers, word of mouth. Next thing you know, you're on TikTok and the line is out the door, right? So,
Hmm.
and don't forget about social media. That's another big one. I can't tell you how many times I've gone out to restaurants or to galleries or exhibits or to pop-up shops because my kids have said, Mom, we saw it on TikTok,
Hmm. Hmm.
so don't be afraid of those spaces either. But I would definitely just not bombard or barrage, but make sure that every now and then, someone is sending out these press releases, or even minority owned business does this and that, because we're in this age, I think, now where there is an interest in minority affairs. I know HBCUs, every other story is the great stories about what's going on with our historically Black colleges. So Howard University, I know, not a small business, but Howard University could send out a press release and it says, the Howard swim team, one of a kind in the entire HBCU community. They're having a cookout to raise money for this and that. You know what I mean? Like a peg, so that news cameras get there or they invite you in. And after that, that word of mouth, it lives on the website. People can click onto it. Make sure you get the link after you leave that studio and put it on your website, and really utilize the media, because I think we are in a space right now where there is a really high interest in minority business, minority affairs, minority education. Just stories where Black and brown people, especially, are thriving. It's almost like I'm thinking, is it to counter some of the negativity we're
Sure.
seeing too? So I would just say, have that elevator pitch when when the news station calls you back. Can you come on this day? Sure can. And I'm bringing my goods with me, and please send me a link, and I'm going to use it on my website. So it's really free word of mouth. And also, and that social media piece is just, find somebody who can utilize social media and put it on, especially TikTok. If it's a consumer based business, you'd just be surprised at how many eyeballs you will see from that. So there is definitely opportunity, a partnership with the media and minority business.
So so would you advise folks to reach out to, what is it, the news director, the news desk?
I would just yeah. Normally, you'll see for inquiries, but I would also reach out to people if there is. I- I'm a resource. Hey, Allison, I'm letting you know I have this press release. I'm going to send it. Who should I send it to? Well, I'm going to say, first, send it, copy me on it, and send it to our assignment desk. That's where these
Mhm.
things go. But I will, because sometimes it could just go into this void.
Yeah.
So let somebody know if you have that contact. But if not, those, they usually have that assignment desk address on the websites, or make a call. Who can I send this to? And so, yeah, but it definitely has to be a news peg, because sometimes you look at it and you'll say, well, this is just going to be a commercial. Like, what's the viewer benefit? And I guess
Mhm.
that's what you always have to ask. Well, if I put this on the air, what's the viewer benefit here? So the viewer benefit is, hey, look, we're doing something no other business has done. Hey, look, we are in a space where we weren't before, and that is newsworthy. So you just have to think about that, the intention behind it. But um, definitely send it, call somebody, try to get, now we have Twitter or what have you, slide on into those DMs. We're news people, so it's not like it's a private
Mhm.
account necessarily,
Mhm.
but we always check our social media. So find us on Facebook, find the station on Facebook, uh, Instagram, Twitter, what have you. So it's a lot of different ways to get to us now, and I think it can go a long way if you pursue it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because you can then go to whomever with the story idea.
right, exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
That is very, very interesting,
Hmm.
how, people can take advantage. I think people just don't, we've gotten now obsessed with social media, and then some business owners will say, "Well, I just don't have time to do that," kind of thing. But even to go the step beyond, how do we get the media attention in terms of, as you talked about your lane, in terms of the television piece?
TV and radio, right? Especially television. We get a lot of different press releases. I would also send it to a person as well. So
Mhm.
if you're sending it to Channel 9, well, our email addresses are there, and they come into our inbox. And if it's something that we're like, hey, there are plenty of times when I've said, have you seen this pitch from this business, or from this person? So it definitely works.
Okay. And in your particular, so that people know, and because in terms of the Capital Region Minority Supply Development Council, our territory is the state of Maryland, the District of Columbia, and Northern Virginia. So even if your business is not in DC specific, but it's in the DMV,
Oh,
it
sure.
would be of interest, correct?
Absolutely, because we're
For market.
always trying to get different markets as well. So,
Mhm.
if we like, I know that we're always trying to reach consumers in Prince George's County, right? So,
Okay.
send things there, and then we're, of course, we're looking for the suburbs in Northern Virginia. So this area really is. I love it that we're the DMV. It feels so expansive, and there's so
Mhm.
many different cultural things, or different just outlets, and it's something for everybody. So I definitely, and we're always looking. We're not, our show is Get Up DC, and we're in the stations for the most part, except for Channel 7, I believe, are in DC, but no, we're definitely the DMV.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about your social media, and let's talk about, because part of what happens with someone in your space is that um, you have to remain kind of relevant, right? And so, how do we tell your particular station that we love Allison Seymour? How do we do that?
Well, you can definitely go on to our social media spaces, and just leave those comments. And on our website, we have the stories and all of this. There are spaces for a comment there too as well. But I definitely, I feel the love. I've enjoyed so much working with you, Sharon, through the years, and really getting to know just the power of minority owned business here in our area. And I'm always so proud of that. So I just, I feel that love. But look, an email to the station never hurts.
Okay, so we want to put, if we can, guys, if we can put some of this information that's out there. So, like, what's an email address that we can um, kind of share with folks?
Oh, sure. So it's for the station, it's WUSA9.com. And when you go on there, there are all these different stories and different links. And there's Get Up DC has its own section too. But, just as far as writing an email, I believe it's to send a comment, WUSA9.com. But again, I would suggest, if there's a story, if there are business owners watching, and want to reach out, I all we all have these specific emails, right? So mine is A Seymour, Seymour, at WUSA9.com. And feel free to send me those pitches. I love to pass them on. Um, Sometimes when I get a good story idea, and I know a reporter who can, who would really be well paired with that, I go ahead and give it to them. So yes, but I am A Seymour at WUSA9.com. And the website itself is WUSA9.com.
Okay, I think that's valuable information, and I'm hoping that some kind of way we can get that up, guys.
Yeah.
But A Seymour at WUSA.9. I'm
AC
sorry.
Moore, WUSA9.com.
Okay, awesome, awesome, awesome. So,
Yes.
what's in store for you, Allison, in the future?
Woo. Well, as I said, I'm a person, though I love my career. Couldn't imagine doing anything else in my career. I
Hmm.
really work to live in a way,
Hmm.
because the number one priority uh, is this family of mine. And so for me, I am just my youngest, as I said, is about to enter college in the fall. And I really look at that as my time. I'm not saying that I'm going anywhere, but I am saying that sleeping in is very attractive. So uh, after all these years,
Right.
but I feel blessed to have been given this second life, if you will. I spent 21 of my years in DC at Fox 5, and those years were wonderful years. There comes a time, and I know a lot of people can relate to this, especially as entrepreneurs, where you say, I'm not sure that this is sitting in my spirit well anymore. I'm not sure
Mm.
if I'm well suited for this anymore. I think that we are moving in different directions. And I was at that point at, at, at Channel 5. Although I loved it, I felt like that's where I really was able to sort of. Uh, shape the person and the journalist and the TV person that I am. And so I'm very grateful for that time. But where I am now, it's coming up on almost 3 years being at WUSA 9, a station that I consider just a heritage station in this market with
Sure.
these legendary newscasters, right? The Bruce Johnsons of the world, JC Haywards of the world. And
Hmm.
so I just feel very blessed to have been given this almost second wind at this stage in
Hmm.
my career. But I will say that I really do. I do miss doing more of the interview format, more of the lifestyle format. So I'm putting it out into the universe that if I were able to incorporate that with my news duties, because we're on 425 to 7 and it's pretty much a straight news show. So
Sure.
I do miss some of those things that I left behind. But that's kind of where I see myself. I don't know, sort of crafting something for myself if that opportunity
Mm.
does not present itself in this part of my job. So whatever that looks like, I don't know, maybe just something online or what have you. But I hope to stay relevant. I hope
Mhm.
to um, remain a source of information, and again, like, just maybe a smile every now and then, positive word, you can do this. We've all been wherever. If you got going through something, keep going. I love being the person, one of the people who can give that positive message. So I'm just hoping that as long as WUSA 9 will have me, that I'll be waking people up at least until my youngest is out of college.
I love it. I
Yeah,
tell you what, Allison Seymour, you are a source of pride for all of us. And so
thank
thank
you.
you for everything that you've done over the
Mhm.
years and continue to do. And we'll speak it out in the universe wherever and whatever it is you want to do, it's going to be successful.
Thank you.
And I love when you and Mark do things together. And
Yes,
so that is
I do too, and I
yeah,
miss that. We had a great time on
the
WHUR. Those
HUR. I
Yeah, we had a
remember.
great time, and so I'm hoping that one day we can work together again. That's what I'm gonna say because, yeah, I
Yeah.
always laugh when I'm with him, so
Yeah. Well, yeah, I can understand that. And how long you guys
yes,
been married?
23 years.
So you all been laughing a long time.
We've been laughing, yeah. We've been giggling, Sharon. We've been giggling over here.
So very, very, very good. So I really enjoyed the HUR piece as well. And
Yeah,
so maybe whatever's in store along this journey of Allison Seymour, maybe in the card somewhere there is this joint thing that happens for you guys again that you created. Maybe it's on social media,
right,
just don't know what that is. But whatever
right.
it is, we're blessed that God has given you guys the talents to do what you're doing. And so we appreciate you being on here and
Absolutely.
appreciate, when you guys, you know, for us celebrating the 50 years at the African American Heritage, Museum last year and having you all as our MCs. That was just historic and a blessing. And so love seeing you guys together. Love seeing you every
Yes,
morning on
thank
the
you.
air. So whatever it is your heart desires, we are with
Mhm.
you. And
Well, look, and Sharon, always call on us too, because we have a
okay.
ball doing that. So, we're just a phone call away.
Okay. Thank you, my
Yeah.
sister. Thank
All
you.
right.
All right, so now you all have it. That was just a fun conversation with Allison Seymour. We love having famous people on. So, um, let me see what's kind of next. I wanted to kind of share with you. And again, thanking Allison. We have, before we go, I need to acknowledge, I talked about our sponsors, but I also need to title sponsors before I want to acknowledge our corporate sponsors who continue to support our mission. I want to do that. And so if you're just listening and don't see, let me read it to you. AARP, Amazon, AT&T, BAE Systems, BWI Thurgood Marshall Airport, Cigna, the City of Baltimore, the DC Department of Small and Local Business Development, Dominion Energy, the Ellison Group, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FRS Financial Realty Services, Huntington Ingalls, the Hilton, Horseshoe Casino, Leidos, Lockheed Martin, M&T Bank, Maryland's Governor's Office of Small Minority and Women Business Affairs, McCormick, Northrop Grumman, Parsons, Peapod Digital Labs, Prince George's County Office of Central Services, Proven Management, SAIC, Sodexo, T. Rowe Price, Truist, United States Postal Service, the University of Maryland College Park, the University of Maryland Global Campus, Washington Gas Metro, and Zillion Technologies. We have some things that are coming up, but to learn more about us and our upcoming program, please visit us at our website at www.crmsdc.org. And if you missed any of these podcasts or you just want to repeatedly see Allison's, we can view them on our YouTube channel at CRMSDC. At CRMSDC is our symbol, but visit us at www.crmsdccares.org. Don't forget to follow, like, and share this episode on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and subscribe to our podcast. You can find it on Apple, Google, and Spotify. Before I close, let me extend a special thanks to the Coronavirus Response and Relief Center and our media production team for all the behind-the-scenes support. Special thanks to Sonia Bigelow-Smith, executive producer, Nicole Miles, designer extraordinaire, Renee Sanford, producing, and Graybo Solutions. We have some other things that are going on. Our Matchmaker Conference is coming up on May the 25th. We have golf on September 28th, but more importantly, thousands of people will be embarking upon Baltimore October 22nd to the 25th as the National Minority Supply Development Council celebrates its annual conference. This time, for the first time in 50 years, is going to be in the city of Baltimore. So until next time, we will see you. Thank you for tuning in. Bye-bye.